everyone, happy winter solstice, happy new moon, happy solar eclipse, and actually want to ask the question, how are you actually? I'm saying happy as in like welcoming everyone in, but I know that a lot of people, including myself, are feeling really off center at the moment. The energies are insane, and I'm coming to you right now to help to make a little bit of sense out of it so that you can have a little bit more calm and come back to grounding and just make sense of it all so that you can flow through it rather than coming through and having resistance areas, going through resistance, going through resistance. So that's my intention for today. So I'm going to start with talking about what is the winter solstice. Winter solstice comes around once a year, and obviously it's in winter. It's the shortest day of the calendar, and it is really a time for us to go within, to ground and to reflect. We are moving into winter. If you think about the seasons as personalities, winter is the slow mover. It's just gathering and recouping and trying to store energy so that it can move through without having to, push through too much. Okay, so that is winter, and the solstice is something that has been recognized by the ancients for a long time, and it is a very important spiritual day because it gives us the reminder and the energy to really go within and to reflect on how we've been traveling for the past 6 months, and to look within ourselves and to remind us to stay really grounded and centered. And we can do this through a couple of ways, such as meditations. A really good one that I recommend is the what's it called, alternate nasal breathing, or Nadi Shodhana. I'm sure if you type that into YouTube, you'll come up with a guided meditation. And also, if you are into Kundalini, I recently discovered another one called Balancing the Tattvas. And both of those meditations, both the alternate nasal breathing and the balancing of the tattvas, help to rebalance our right and left hemispheres of our brain. So each control a masculine and a feminine side of us, and if one's out of balance or it's been leaned into too much, then we obviously have an imbalance, and we find it really hard to ground when we're not balanced. So by taking 3 to 11 minutes to practice these, it helps to bring in balance to both sides of our brain, to find peace and a calming space within so that we're able to see things clearly with clarity and move through life without having to rush through or feeling really slow and drained. So that's one way that we could ground down and balance. Another way is to look at the foods that we're eating. Grounding foods include root veggies, so potatoes, sweet potato, beetroots, all of those types of food. And I'm not talking about the fried variety, but maybe some like roast veggies or some soups, things that are just having that energy from coming up from the earth, and having that really earthy energy helps to help our bodies stay grounded as well. It's not just all about balancing out the mind. We do have to think about what we're putting into our bodies, because that is a massive help there. So yeah, that's a little bit about the winter solstice and the time that we're in regards to moving into our winter season. But there is also a lot going on with our planets at the moment, and I'm sure that many of you might have heard a lot. So we have 5 planets in total in retrograde at the moment, and I'm going to explain how that kind of affects us as well. I'm going to take it back to explaining how planets have the ability to affect our emotions and create kind of scenarios and move through our kind of cycles. So the way that I like to think of it is planets and our universe and our earth are all made up of the same stardust that you and I are made out of. We are all created from the same thing. How amazing is that? Now, so considering we're all created out of the same thing, we all are made into our own individual form, and we all carry with us different energies. I have a certain energy that when you're around me and you look at me, you feel a certain way. That's how I affect you. The same as if you're talking to a friend or talking to your parent or a boss. We all have different energies, and we all have the ability to make you feel or let you feel a different way. Now, coming back to the fact that we're all made out of stardust and the same things that our planets are made out of, our planets are, think about how big they are in respect to how we are. So I can have the ability to affect how other people feel. Imagine how a planet can have the ability to affect how we feel, right? So that's how I like to think of how astrology and the planets affect us. You're more than welcome to do your own research if that doesn't really resonate with you, but that's how I make sense of it. Now, when planets are in retrograde, it means that it gives us a time to go within. When we're talking retrograde, the planets aren't actually spinning the opposite way than what they should. Instead, it's the way that we perceive it from the other planets from Earth. It kind of sometimes, it will look like they're spinning backwards, but that's just because of the way that we're orbiting and the way that everything's moving. Like if you're traveling on a train that's going faster than one that's going next to you in the same direction but slower, it looks like it's going backwards. That's the same thing that happens when we're in retrograde, right? So that's what's happening physically. And then emotionally, so when they're spinning normally, they create an kind of outward spiral. So it starts from us and now it affects the world around us, spiraling like this. Now, when the planets go retrograde, they start, for us at Earth, it starts to look like they're spinning back within. See where I'm going here? Planets are in retrograde, we are coming into looking within. The energy is going more into us as individuals than outside to the whole collective. So when we have 5 planets in retrograde, we have 5 different energies all asking ourselves to go within and to look at different aspects of ourselves. We think of planets that like personalities, they all carry different energies and have their own personalities. So if you see me looking down, I am going to be looking at my notes here because I have a terrible memory, something that I'm working on. But the first planet that I'm going to talk to you about is Mercury. Mercury in retrograde, I'm sure you guys have heard lots of different things about that, and it often has a negative perception, but I'm going to help break it down so that it doesn't really sound so doomy and gloomy. Mercury is the planet of communication and intellect. So it governs the way that we speak to people, it governs relationships, like loving relationships, just the way internal relationships, like contractual relationships, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, so when we're thinking about that, it comes down to how we are able to communicate with others. And I'm going to give you an example of how Mercury retrograde can sometimes have a negative effect in order to have a positive effect on people. Sorry, I'm just going to sit down for this. So so an example, my boyfriend and I, we've just been having a couple of little arguments lately, things over things that we wouldn't necessarily have to be arguing about. But we're just not seeing eye to eye on things, and the way that I'm communicating to him isn't being perceived the way that I intended for him to do that. And the same goes back to me, therefore we cause a little bit of friction. And I think a lot of people might know what I'm talking about here. That's kind of how arguments start. Communication breakdown. And I'm not encouraging people to just stop it there and be like, oh, it's Mercury's fault. No, we all have our own free will, and we all have the ability to sit back and reflect on our own actions. So when these arguments or miscommunication breakdowns kind of pop up, Mercury asks us to look at how we're communicating, and it's a time to reflect rather than act. So really think about our words that we're saying, maybe our body language when we're communicating, whether we're coming across aggressive or passive. Mercury also affects technology. So if you're experiencing like internet connections failing, or phones just randomly switching off, or computers not being able to reboot, it all has that energy surrounding it. So when Mercury goes retrograde, sometimes things go a little bit off kilter, and that's why we experience problems there. Okay, so that's how I would explain Mercury retrograde, and it really is all about how we communicate with others and how we receive and perceive what others are telling us. So really think about where we're getting our information from, how we let it affect us, and who and what we're saying to others. Those three elements are really being asked of us to look into right now, especially during Gemini, which is also ruled by Mercury. All about communication, really, both ways, going out and coming in. Really think about what you're taking in and what you're putting out. All right, next planet that we have in retrograde is Neptune, and that is the planet of illusion and mystery. And I just think now we're going to move into like the whole what's happening in 2020 and how society is kind of changing and deconstructing. But Neptune in retrograde is really illuminating and breaking down things that we might have been thinking is the normal, and really making us question, how did we get here? And does that make sense to me anymore? Does that feel right within me anymore? And kind of unveiling the mystery behind the way society works. We can think about, everything that's happening with COVID. We can think about all of the race issues that are coming up right now. And I do not doubt for a second that there's going to be more things. Like even prior to this, we've had fires, floods, everything's kind of coming up at the moment. And it's really shaking things up, really. And Neptune in retrograde is really illuminating those facts to us, and really making us think about how we feel about it, how we think about what we're being told, and really taking away that mystery and really getting to the crux of the issue of what is happening. Yeah, so that's Neptune. Next we have Venus, which is the planet of love and pleasure. That actually is in retrograde at the moment, but on the 25th of June, it's going to go direct, meaning that, I don't know if you guys maybe would have felt that. So Venus really asks us to look within when it's in retrograde and think about our relationship with ourselves. How do we love ourselves? Do we maybe have a bit of a gap between, being able to really connect with ourselves here? So maybe during that time you might have been feeling a lot coming up about your own self-worth. A lot of times, in order to be able to transform, we do have to go through like a grieving and things breaking down. So if you have been feeling like a little bit off and things are starting to get a little bit difficult, hold on, because keep going. And the more that you break down, the more that comes up, and you just let it sit with you and decide, do I need that anymore? Does that feeling about myself make me feel good? No. Is it true? No. Do I need it? No. Okay, get rid of it. And then you bring in more space to hold in your heart space for that loving energy to come through. So that's Venus, and it's going direct on the 25th. So it'll start to more become around how we are loving others. I don't have any doubt that a lot of you are been thinking about how we've been treating others, especially with all of the Black Lives Matter information that's been coming out. And yeah, I think we have a lot more work to do with how we treat others, more than maybe what we have been willing to accept until now, because everything's coming to light. There's no more hiding. All right, cool. Next planet is Saturn. And this is the planet of discipline and restriction. And I don't know the exact dates on this, so you can't exactly quote me, but I think that went retrograde. It was either the week of or the week before everything went into lockdown because of COVID. Like, just think about that for a second. It actually blows my mind that the planet of discipline and restriction went retrograde that same week that we decided that we needed to go into lockdown to restrict. Like, what? Anyway, I just thought it was really cool. So that's in retrograde at the moment. It's, yeah, really asking us to look at our own discipline, and how we are committed to showing up also. Do you have a daily practice? This is something that me personally, I've been working on a lot. I struggle to get out of bed at an early enough time that I can fit in a good daily practice for me. And this past maybe 2 weeks, I have absolutely been committed to sticking when saying that I'm going to get up earlier, that I actually get up earlier. And I'm going to do my morning practice, and I actually do my morning practice. So maybe something like that can apply to you, but we really need to think about how we're being disciplined and how we are following through with our word. Because that, how we say, when we say that we're going to do something and and we show to ourselves that that actually happens, that actually helps with manifesting. So when I visualize, I don't know, at the moment we're in the process of deciding on house plans and getting a bank loan. So when I visualize that, and my brain now knows that when I say that I'm going to do something, it actually happens. So when I visualize something, my brain and my energy all conspire to bringing in that same vibration so that the outcome matches. When we commit to just the small things, it actually changes something in our mind that helps us really to believe that what we want and what we see in our vision can absolutely come true, because we've shown to ourselves that's true. So practice discipline during this time. Saturn's in retrograde, it's really helping us to do that as well. Next, there's a lot. Jupiter. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion, abundance, and wisdom. Yeah, so whilst we have all of these things happening at the moment, things are being exposed, we are questioning where we're getting our information from, we're really thinking about our discipline practice, we're opening out our love to others. We also have Jupiter helping us here, helping us to expand what we're thinking, lifting veils of things, growing as people, individuals at the moment. You're not going to be, what's that saying? If your cup's not full, how can you possibly expect to help others? That's what Jupiter's here to help. We need to take this time to work on ourselves, to really go within so that we're able to help others, building our wisdom, like really listening to our intuition here, like not just like you can be listening to me right now, and I'm thankful for you to do that, and I hope what I'm saying resonates with you. But if it doesn't, if it's not sitting right in your heart, go out and do your own research. Find something that really, oh yeah, that like makes sense to me. That's what Jupiter is asking us. And finally, the last planet in retrograde at the moment is Pluto. I really, once I tell you what it's the planet of, I think it won't need much explanation, but the planet of destruction and transformation. So I think that all helps to tie it all together. 2020 is all about exactly that. The destruction of things to make space for a new wave, a new way of going through that's going to benefit all others. Everyone's going to be included in this, and I don't think that the healing is going to be able to happen the way that we would love it to, unless that this opportunity is open to everyone. And it all starts with us as individuals doing the work. The more of us are showing up spiritually and wakening up to that, the more that we're going to be able to create that space for others to feel the same too. And I think if you're watching this today, then there's absolutely a reason why you've been here watching this for the last 20 minutes, because this makes sense to you and you're being called to step up, to awaken, to transform, to become absolutely you, not the you that other people are telling you to be. All right, so that's what's going on with the astrology at the moment. I'm just, yeah, it's a lot. And I hope that helps to make a little bit of sense of how you're feeling and how others are acting toward you, and how society is just absolutely going through the craziest time that, well, me personally, I've ever experienced. Yeah. And then now today we have our new moon, which if you've been following me, I'm always so happy to talk about the new moons, because to me they give us the space to plant our seeds of intention so that our manifestations can flourish. So whatever you've been wanting to create and bring into your life, now is the time to make 5 minutes of your day or your night tonight to write it out, to close your eyes, to picture what it is that you're wanting in your third eye. Feel it through your whole body. Hold the space in your heart. When you're breathing in, imagine that vision growing bigger and bigger and bigger until you can actually see yourself in that vision. It's like you can't really, when it's in your mind like that, it's like a vivid dream. You feel like it's happening in real life, and that is when, yeah, the manifestations happen. When you can feel it in your body, when you can feel it's already here, that's when it comes. So make some time out tonight to do that for yourself. And because it's also a solar eclipse, meaning that the sun and the sun and the moon are like really close together, that heightens the energy even more, because we have both the masculine and the feminine. So the sun, masculine, moon, feminine together, helping us to just, expand. Everything is more heightened. You can feel the energy a little bit more. And when I say feeling the energy, it can be felt in both ways. You can be overactive, maybe not being able to sleep, not being able to turn off, feeling go, 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 go. Or it could affect you where you just feel really tired. You feel sluggish, where you would usually have energy to go for your walks and do your workouts. You're just like, oh, I just feel like I've been hit by a truck. So it can affect you in two different ways. We're all different. We all feel energy differently. But when there's a lot, they're usually the two that you can feel. And if you are feeling out of balance, again, I recommend doing some yoga, practicing your balancing meditations. Yeah, it's really important to do during this time. And yeah, I think that's enough information for all of you guys at the moment. I hope that it makes sense to you, and I hope that it's going to help move through this time. I know that I just really feel like we're not done growing yet, so I'm sure that there's going to be more revelations coming to light, but the more that we're able to stay grounded and connected to ourselves and really focus on the light and the positives that are coming out of this craziness, the more that we're going to be able to, like I said at the start of this video, to flow through life, rather than just coming to like walls, like I can't move through. Just try and go with it. And I'm not saying that you can't be upset about things. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But when I say flow through it, I mean when you do start to get upset, honor that you're feeling that way. absolutely honor it. And if it's not something that is going to be able to help bring in positive action, then let it go. And what I mean by is, if for the Black Lives Matter stuff, like obviously that absolutely hurts my heart, and I'm sure that it hurts a lot of people, that other people are suffering like that. And it has helped me because now I'm a lot more aware of it. I have been doing a lot more research. I have a lot more respect, and it's helped me to ask, like, how am I contributing to the way that things have been? And more importantly, letting that go, because we can't change the past, but what we can change is the future, and really think about what we're about as a human. I say that I love people no matter what, unconditionally. So now it's all about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So that's what I mean by inspired action. But if it was a feeling like, oh, I don't know, something about self-worth, like I'm not good enough, and if it wasn't going to inspire action for me to change that belief, then I would just need to say, let it go. It's not going to help bring any positiveness about it. It's a dark thought that's going to help keep me not moving to where I want to move. Then that's time to go. So we flow through, release, change, flow through, release, change, and stay true, stay open, stay honest and grounded, and we will get through this, and we will come out much better than what we were before. Leveling up, sharing the love, sharing the information, and just really honoring the light within. So with that said, thank you for showing up today for yourself. And if you do have any questions, or you want to talk about this, have someone to talk to about this, I am always here. I know what it feels like when you're not necessarily having other people around you that are opening to having these conversations, or maybe not really too aware about themselves as a spiritual being. I know it can feel really lonely and isolating, and that's why I'm here today to talk to you about this, because I want it to become normal. Okay, so namaste, satnam, big love, all of the above, and I hope that you are able to move through this with grace and ease. And I'm always here for you, and keep shining your light.